CH4 requires two O2s to completely react. You'll get one CO2 and two H2Os out of it when you're done. So, how many moles of H2O are formed when 20 moles of CH4 are burned? See what I've done here? I've said 20 is to 1 as X is to 2. Since it's a 1 to 2 ratio, you can expect if you have 20 moles of CH4, you'll have twice as much, or 40 moles of H2O when you're all done with your reaction. You can do that with any of these. 20 moles would give you 20 moles of CO2 and 40 moles of O2. So you can use the balanced reaction and use the ratios they give you here. If you know how many moles of one thing, you can use those ratios to find the moles of the other thing. Again, insanely easy, but again, it just slides off the brain. Practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, and then you'll be good at it. And now we come to kinetics and equilibrium. Yeah, I know it looks pretty bare. There's a lot more than just this. If you want more, like I said at the end, I'm going to give you a link to a page that has every single topic on it with tutorial videos, music videos, anything you want. But now let's just do these two topics, potential energy diagrams and Le Chatelier's principle. First of all, exothermic reactions release heat. And to show that in the potential energy diagram, you start off high, heat of reactants, you give activation energy, and then you end up low with heat of products. So heat of reactants is high, heat of products is low. It's kind of like going uphill a little bit and then going whoa all the way downhill. That's exothermic. For endothermic, you're going to absorb heat. The reactants will start off with low energy, absorb activation energy, and your products will have a lot more energy than your reactants did. Heat of products, heat of reactants. And that's the shape of the two kinds of PE diagrams. They're mirror images of each other. Are you getting dizzy? Giving off heat, absorbing heat. Le Chatelier's principle is all about stress. When you're put under a stress, you're going to do whatever it takes to undo the source of that stress. That's what Le Chatelier's principle is all about. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated with collisions and stuff. I'm just going to give you the simple deal on how to know what direction the equilibrium is shifting. If you add something, the equilibrium is going to try to get rid of what you just added, so it will shift away from whatever you add. If you remove something, the equilibrium is going to want to replace it, so it shifts towards the side you just took something away from to make more of it. And that's basically how Le Chatelier's principle works. If you add N2, oh my gosh, there's too much N2, a whole bunch of collisions, it's going to shift the equilibrium, whoa, over to that side to use up the excess N2 that you put in. If you decrease temperature, well, we're going to find out what side heat is on. Here's heat. If we decrease temperature, we can bring the temperature back up by releasing some of that heat. We're going to shift in the exothermic direction. We're going to shift towards heat to bring that temperature back up again. Remember, exothermic converts potential energy to kinetic, and temperature measures kinetic energy. So if we want to bring a temperature back up, we just shift in the exothermic direction. If you increase the pressure, well, here you have to count moles of gas. We have 4 moles of gas on this side and 2 moles of gas on this side. Now, obviously, 4 moles is going to exert twice as much pressure as 2 moles. So if you increase the pressure, the equilibrium is going to shift in a direction that's going to bring that pressure back down. How do you do that? Well, you go to the side that has less gas on it, because less gas is going to exert less pressure. Then, if you remove H2, the equilibrium will shift towards it to bring its concentration back up in that direction. But what happens to the concentration of NH3? Well, you can't make more of the reactant unless you use up some of the product. So NH3's concentration will decrease, and that's how we make more H2. You can't get H2 for free. You got to break up some NH3 to do it. And if you add NH3, the equilibrium will shift away from it to use it up. What happens to the concentration of N2? Well, you can't break up NH3 without turning it into N2 and H2. So N2's concentration will increase. Stress, shift, changing concentration. Stress, what you do to it. Shift, which way does it shift to relieve that stress? Changing concentration, what happens to the concentrations of the stuff on the side you're shifting towards or away from. Okay, and now it's time for some brief stuff about acids and bases. We're going to do the difference between molarity of acid times volume of acid equals molarity of base times volume of base, or as I like to call it, MAVA equals MUVA, versus when to use molarity equals moles divided by liters. We're also going to show you Bronsted-Lowry or alternate theory. They're going to call it alternate theory. When you're doing titration problems, you're going to assume you have information about an acid and a base. If they give you information about an acid and a base, you're going to use MAVA equals MUVA. For example, here they give you the molarity and volume of an acid and the volume of a base. Since they give you information about both, you can use the equation for titration. MAVA